what we have in the book of Abraham and what we have in the temple can be found everywhere.
You read that, Dave?
Those hieroglyphs?
Yes.
What? Why do you know
nerd,
how to
Dave.
read
It's amazing.
hieroglyphs, bro?
Jesus is just Osiris. No, Jesus is
It's
Osiris.
yeah.
Yes. You would be Dave Osiris, Hayden Osiris, Jackson Osiris. Everybody is put into that type.
Welcome everybody to another episode on the Stick of Joseph YouTube channel. And today we are going to be talking about some crazy stuff. We're going to be talking about aliens, pyramids, the pyramids being a power station for ancient Egypt, all the stuff that you want. Just kidding. Today we have Greg in.
I thought we were going to say Joe Rogan's in this studio.
Oh, Joe Rogan's in the studio. No, so we have Greg in. As you guys know, he works with Go and Do Travel. He does tours out in Egypt. And while he's out there, he's talking about the temple. He's talking about the restored gospel, Pearl of Great Price. And today he's like, guys, I'm going to come. I'm going to blow your mind on the temple.
Got back from
in
Cairo
Egypt
yesterday.
Looking bronzed and handsome, ready to go. And then Dave's here to interject all of his weird, random, obscure things.
Just ready to go.
That he's always able to interject with.
Looking
So
homeless.
we're pumped. He does have gray sweatpants on underneath the table with his jacket. So, Greg, and sorry if my voice is annoying, getting over a sickness, but you know, is what it is. Greg, take us on this journey.
Take us away.
We're excited.
So I want to start with two things. We're going to lay down two things that I want to go through. Number one is what I would call the loss of Egypt in the scriptures.
Okay.
They're there, but in our minds, it's not there. So I want to go over that a little bit and talk about how Egypt is actually all throughout the scriptures.
Okay.
Secondly, I want to talk about Egypt and the temple. Mm-hmm. And how much of the temple is actually found in ancient Egypt. It's striking what you see when you actually go there, because you go there and you're saying, what in the world? I mean, how did they have this? How is it possible that this pagan society from 5,000-6,000 years ago is doing what we're doing today in the temple? Mm-hmm. But it's true, and it's etched in stone.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So we'll cover those two things. I want to go over this first, and that is, let's just go through a quick little a quick little outline of how Egypt is a part of Latter-day Saint heritage.
Okay.
Okay? So first of all, let's go back and look at our interactions with Egypt throughout the scriptures. Okay? First of all, for example,
They're the bad guys.
They're the bad guys, right? The bumper sticker answer is, oh yeah, the Israelites were good and the Egyptians were bad, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the way it was. Abraham goes to Egypt.
Okay.
Right? Abraham heads off to Egypt. He's there, allegedly, most additional writing on this, he was there for a number of years. What is he doing there? He's teaching in the court of the Pharaoh.
Yeah.
He's teaching about the cosmology. He's talking about the astronomy, so to speak, as we get in the book of Abraham. Well, he's talking about the temple.
Yeah.
And an order. We'll get to that in a minute. So you've got Abraham that goes there. Then you have his great-grandson, Joseph, who heads to Egypt. And by the way, how is it possible that a young, poor Semite takes over Egypt?
Yeah.
There's a reason why it happens. Okay? So we're going to get to that in a minute. But Joseph is in Egypt. Uh-huh. Abraham teaches in Egypt. He's teaching in Egyptian.
Okay.
Joseph is running and teaching in Egyptian, in the Egyptian language. Go down a little bit further here. We get to Moses. Moses is dropped off. I've been through all those bulrushes along the Nile. The basket comes over, possibly to Queen Hatshepsut, who picks up the basket out of the Nile and brings up Joseph. Yes, he's got a mother there that also helps out, but he's raised as an Egyptian.
Yeah.
Right? He's in the court of the Pharaoh. All three of these men, by the way, are in Memphis.
Yeah.
This is in Memphis in Lower Egypt. And this is the capital during the time that they are all living. Okay, so this is where they would have been. You would have you can walk through the streets of Memphis there. This is where those three. In fact, they believe that they have recently found the prison that Joseph was in.
Oh, really?
In Saqqara.
Crazy.
So Anyway,
That is strange. I just got to say real quick, it is strange how big of a role Egypt plays in all of Genesis.
oh yeah, it's
up
huge.
through Exodus.
Yeah, and the restored gospel blows it away.
Yeah.
Where we get to here in a minute. All right. Now let's keep going a little bit further. We get down to the time of Lehi,
Yeah.
right? And here Lehi is fluent in Egyptian,
Yep.
right? He's fluent in Egyptian. Nephi is fluent in Egyptian. Jeremiah and Uriah are two prophets that are his contemporaries.
And they flee to Egypt.
Uriah flees to Egypt for sanctuary. He's found and brought
Killed.
back and killed.
Yep.
Jeremiah flees to Egypt for exile.
Yep.
Okay. Lehi, surprisingly, doesn't go to Egypt. Right? He's not going to hang out there. He's going somewhere else, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? So they go to Egypt. Now come down to Christ's time. He's born. Herod's around. Where does Joseph take Mary and Jesus?
To Egypt.
To
Of
Egypt.
course.
They go to Egypt also. A lot of people don't know this, but there have always been Jewish settlements throughout Egypt. There were at a minimum 2 Israelite Jewish temples in Egypt.
Wow.
One in in Upper Egypt on the
What do
island.
we mean by temple? Like
Temple.
Are these synagogues or like real
No,
like
real
temples.
temples,
Real
like
temple.
built after the model of the Temple of Solomon. Right? So you have one in Elephantine, on the island of Elephantine,
Yeah.
which is the southern border then of Egypt, which I've been to. What it was Jews were hired as mercenaries to go down to protect the southern border from the Nubians. And while they were down there, they got permission to build a Jewish temple.
Okay.
So fully running, fully functional,
Like King
priesthood-led,
Solomon, like type?
King Solomon type temple.
Wow.
like
yes.
3-part space, porch.
all of it, right?
Really?
Then you go up to the north,
What?
and in the time of about the time that Antioch had taken over in Jerusalem, there is a break from the priesthood there in Jerusalem, and a man named Onias goes down to Lower Egypt, which is the north end of things, and builds a temple. Very similar, very similar to the Temple of Solomon. Oh, difference, they don't have an Ark of the Covenant or anything to replicate that. So he actually builds it with a Tree of Life chandelier in the Holy of Holies.
Wait, really?
Yeah, pretty interesting. So this temple we've never found. We've never found this temple.
Where's the record of this, of him
The
building it?
record is...
How do we know he had?
I will have to go back and look at this, and we'll put it in the description.
Okay, cool.
Okay, but I've read all about it. There's several different descriptions of this.
All right. And what years?
historical.
Okay, so real quick,
This
first
would be
temple,
in the second century BC for
okay.
Onias.
And the other one.
The other one, I believe, is going
Elephantine.
It's a little earlier, but it's Second Temple still. It's early Second Temple, right? The Elephantine stuff.
It's a little
It's
earlier
like
than the other
500,
one. Yeah,
600
yeah,
BC.
it's about
Yeah.
500 or 600 BC.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So those, and that's just what we know of.
That's crazy. That I've
That's
never
just
heard
that
of
we
it.
know
So,
of that,
like,
right?
were they considered real quick before we go? Like, were they considered apostates?
No.
So, but I thought you could only have one temple, and it was in Jerusalem, and all the
Obviously
high
wrong.
places had to get
Obviously
destroyed.
wrong. Obviously wrong.
Crazy.
Yeah. So they were at a minimum, the temple in Elephantine was sanctioned
Yeah.
by Jerusalem,
By
the high priest in Jerusalem, and I'm pretty sure the one Onias. I'm not 100% positive.
I think they both were.
I think the one in oath by Onias was sanctioned also.
Weird.
Okay.
Okay, I had no
In
idea.
fact, I believe that there is an apocryphal work called Joseph and Asenath. And I think that is about the Temple of Onias. I'm almost positive it's about the Temple of Onias and the priesthood there. But anyway, I digress. So you've got all of these amazing connections throughout Scripture with Egypt that we kind of push aside because of that Pharaoh bad guy and they were chasing the
it's
Israelites.
always the bad guys.
But even bigger than this is the book of Abraham was almost certainly, right? We don't know exactly what papyrus was used or anything else, but it was almost certainly written in Egyptian.
In Egyptian.
The brass plates were written in Egyptian. You read this from Mosiah 1. The Book of Mormon was written in Egyptian. Not necessarily all Reformed Egyptian, by the way.
Depending on what record, for sure.
Well, it depends on what record.
'Cause if they're just
and
copying
it depends on what you
Nephi-
mean by reformed.
Yeah, reformed. Yeah.
And so the scriptures, now, the book of Moses, it seems more and more like the book of Moses. I mean, we're going through all this restored gospel scripture. Almost certainly, I would say,
As an Egyptian.
the book of Moses is from the brass plates.
Yeah.
And it would be from an Egyptian source then.
This is kind of Jonah's take on in Lost Gems of Genesis. He essentially says, like, these stories that you get in the Book of Mormon are from this brass plates, most likely.
Yes.
And then that's where Joseph is getting these ideas, is from a channeling it in some way or whatever, right? To get these.
Yeah, for all we know,
things.
there was a section of Genesis in the 116 pages.
Yeah.
And he's pulling from that
Probably
early
likely.
on, and then he's got the Book of Moses as he's going through the translation of the translation of the Bible, right?
Yeah.
So look at what we've got here. We've got the Book of Moses, we've got the Book of Abraham, we've got the brass plates, we've got the Book of Mormon. They're all Egyptian records, right? Why? Why do we have all of these as Egyptian records? Any ideas on why these are? Why are we getting all this Egyptian stuff? Why isn't this in Hebrew?
So first of all, there's more. You're underselling it.
Okay.
Right? Like there are Egyptian backgrounds to iconography of the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. The winged sun, the winged serpent are Egyptian
All of it.
symbols before they show up in Israel. Also, there are names, right? Like Phineas, the zealot, who's promised eternal priesthood because he kills people who marry foreign women. That's an Egyptian name. Moses is a very strange name, but is probably Egyptian.
It's probably Egyptian.
Right. It looks like it means something like is born. It's like the second half of a theophoric Egyptian name, Thutmoses, right? But without it's. So we'll talk about that.
Ramses, R-A,
Right.
is born of Ra.
Right. The second half of it is Moses.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So on your question of why, it's well, we don't think about this. But like reading the history of Israel without Egypt is kind of like trying to understand the history of Puerto Rico without the United States.
Yes.
Huh.
Right? Like it's the little country completely dominated by, in the sphere of, under the control of the much, much bigger country next door
That's
for
right.
its whole history.
And their leaders were all immersed in Egyptian, not just the language, but the culture, the rituals, the rites, everything. And so, I mean, you think about just Moses coming out of Egypt, who he is. How long had the Israelites been there? Over 400 years in Israel or in Egypt?
Yeah.
They multiplied.
Their
They
origin,
were
yeah.
a small family when they moved to Egypt. All of them are Egyptian.
Yeah.
Right? So their whole when you're trying to make a reference to something, you're doing it in an Egyptian structure, an Egyptian format, right? Whether it's your own religion even, and how God would be revealing things to them. The brazen serpent.
Yeah.
Okay, all of these things are rooted in a thriving, successful Egyptian culture.
And this question I'm really interested in, because it probably plays into this story more, is when does Hebrew, as we understand, like how early is Proto-Hebrew, and does it come, like is
Much
Egyptian?
later than Egyptian.
Is Egyptian essentially the Semitic grandfather of all the Semitic language? Is Egyptian a Semitic language?
It's an Afro-Asiatic language. It's
Afro-Asi-
part of a very large
It's a
family
distant
relation.
cousin.
Okay, it's a distant cousin. So is Egyptian influencing Hebrew and a lot of the understanding of Hebrew in its early stages, I guess is my question.
So here's where we'll bring up another point that I want to talk about here. We're going to get back to all this Egyptian stuff in a minute, but we want to cover this because this is really important. It's not just the language that of how the Egyptians would have been influenced, and it's not just the culture. It's the individuals, the leaders of the Israelites
Are Egyptian.
who were Egyptian and who carried on Egyptian. So this is just a thesis here. You know, we can think about our theory that we can think about here. Joseph is speaking almost all the time in Egyptian. We read in the Book of Mormon all about Joseph,
Yeah.
things that we don't have in the Bible. Where's Joseph's record? Right now,
It's probably in
the
Egypt.
book of Joseph was a real book.
I know Joseph did a translation of it. Isn't it in the freaking granite vaults? Allegedly?
I don't think the church would
Say no.
say
deny.
anything. Confirm or deny. Anything like that, right? But there was a book of Joseph. So that's the other Egyptian thing here, is you've got another book that would be in Egyptian again that is restored scripture. By the way, we've got the papyrus from that.
Really?
Right? I've got it. That's what is hanging up in my studio.
The original
behind me.
papyrus?
It's
Wow.
not the original.
I know, joking.
But it's a variation of a judgment scene that went along with the book of Joseph.
Book of Joseph,
And we've got several different parchments that are
Wait,
part
so
of it.
is that part of the Egyptian papyri that he purchased?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is another facsimile, as we call them. It's another papyrus.
And why is this like a mysterious? This is honestly the first thing.
You've never heard of the book of Joseph?
I'm hearing about it. Yeah.
So there was another book. They had said that there was the book of Abraham and the book of Joseph that was found, and they were going to translate. Joseph was going to translate these. Do we know absolutely for sure that Joseph Smith got to the book of Joseph? I don't know. But it seems to several letters and other things imply that he, at a minimum, started it. And that very possibly, if you go back into the 1860s, there was a mission where Brigham Young sent Joseph F. Smith and Parley P. Pratt back to Nauvoo for two reasons. One was to get the additional information from possibly the Book of Abraham that we don't have, and the Book of Joseph. And the other was to bring Emma back to Salt Lake. Okay, Emma never came back to Salt Lake, but when they came back, and you look at the following general conference, I think it was Parley P. Pratt that came up to the pulpit and said, we were successful.
Successful
mission.
And what year was this?
I think it was in the 1860s. I don't remember which year it was. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is another book that was to be translated. We do have the papyrus. It's on Google if you want to look at it.
Yeah.
It's different. It's primarily a lot of different things, but it's also a judgment scene.
Okay.
A lot of people that have commented on it are Talmage, McConkie. There's a couple of others, and there seems to be some type of consensus that it was too sacred. It's too much about the temple.
Yeah.
To reveal. So anyway, but let me back up again and go to the brass plates. Who started the brass plates?
Moses
or Joseph?
Okay, well, here's my question. Why, possibly.
So the 5 books of Moses? Wait.
Is that, but the 5 books of Moses that we have in the Old Testament are not the 5 books that we have in the brass plates. I mean, they might be the same books, but they're not the same versions.
Yeah.
Obviously, because we have
because
totally different
differences.
information in Genesis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? So there is work being done right now by Noel B. Reynolds, retired from BYU, a religion professor, that is absolutely fascinating. And what he has come up with is that there are 2 separate scribal schools. One is the tribal school of Manasseh, and one is the tribal school of Judah. Okay? And that if you go back, and I've done all this research on this, it is really, really interesting. They start these. Egypt was the first place where they really started building these scribal schools, and obviously it's in Egyptian. They're teaching in Egyptian, right? So what they do is they take mostly, not all, but mostly young boys at the age of 5 years old, and they start teaching them. They bring them into with the priests and the other scribal schools, and they start teaching them full time. And this is kind of like being a member of the king's court, so to speak. I mean, you're not just learning how to read and write. You're learning arithmetic. You're learning engineering. You're learning perhaps metallurgy. You're learning a lot of the skills that these are like the skilled leaders of the civilization, right? And then. What they do is they get this broad base of information, and then a number of them will specialize in a number of different things. Now, reading and writing is always there, but apart from that, they will specialize in some of these other skills, right? So if you go back and you look at Abraham, as he's going into Egypt, did he already know Egyptian? Would he have somehow been taught in Egypt or outside of Egypt from his father or others?
I mean, he was an old dude by the time he got there. He could have been there during some part of his life.
Could have been there, or even had the scribes come out from Egypt,
kind of like how
teach.
Jesus went.
But he obviously knows how to read and write very, very well. and puts together the Book of Abraham, right? He's obviously very educated. Okay, come down a little bit further to Joseph. Isn't this fascinating with Joseph? He's young. He gets sold into Egypt. He goes to Potiphar, and by the way, the officials would oftentimes teach have their scribes in their homes that they would teach. But all of a sudden, he's running Potiphar's estate. How does a Hebrew from apparently a nomadic area, at least as we think it is, and you come into a high-ranking official like Potiphar and start running his estate?
Yeah.
Without having an education and without having to read and write and to have all of this capability behind him, and then be thrown into a prison, and then all of a sudden runs the prison, and then all of a sudden is running Egypt.
Yeah. So who's this guy then?
Yeah, who is this guy? So what is
from?
his background? How is he getting this? So it's very interesting to think, does Joseph start the brass plates?
Uh-huh.
Does he begin the brass plates?
Yeah.
Written, obviously, in Egyptian at that time, and then carried down
until he gets to Moses.
Down until we get, it could be Moses, but it might not be Moses. Yeah. Why Moses? Moses is a Levite.
Just because the five books of Moses are on there, you know what I mean? So like that's a.
But your point is the brass plates might have come down into the northern kingdom.
Yes.
And been held by some Josephite custodian.
They're held by some Josephite custodian, but backing up even past Moses. It might be that Moses was a part of this, and all of Israel is a part of.
Yeah.
But the Manasseites are the scribes.
Record keepers. Yeah.
They're the record keepers.
No, I think
right?
that for sure. Yeah.
And then they come down, and you end up with this: the Book of Moses, the Book of Abraham, the Book of Joseph, the Book of Mormon, the brass plates, all written in Egyptian.
Yeah.
This looks like this is coming down through the Manassehite scribal school. They're the ones in charge of all of this. Now, the two countries split.
Why is it the Manassehite? Why isn't the Ephraimite or just the Josephite?
It might just be the Josephite, right?
Yeah.
Noel B. Reynolds is focused on the Manasseites, and he has some reasons for that.
He has some reasons,
but
okay.
but it's possible there is some third-party historical evidence that Zoram was an Ephraimite.
Yeah.
Well, Zoram's in charge of the records with Laban. So is it possible that it didn't have to be Manasseh?
Yeah.
Right? It's somewhere under Joseph, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. But you have these records that are coming down in Egyptian through a scribal school of Manasseh that are different from the Judahite school.
Yeah.
And according to Noel B. Reynolds, the Judahite school is basically those countries split. Who's running the northern kingdom? The Ephraimites. The Josephites are the kings, right? So there's always this kind of rivalry that had been there.
Yeah.
And then you have the Judahites. Now, what happens if you lose all of the scribal school structure to the northern kingdom and you're Judah, the country of Judah? You're going to end up, you have a problem.
Yeah.
You have a real problem. And what he believes is that this actually stayed as an oral tradition for the Judahites coming down either just before, he might even say after the exile, when actually we start getting a Judahite written form, strong written form for the Old Testament. And this is why I always say this, and it's a little bit disruptive, but I'm trying to make a point. The brass plates are not the Old Testament.
Yeah.
They are not the Old Testament. And we have to get that out of our heads. Now, do they have a lot of the same books? Yes.
For sure.
A lot of the same books. But you have a different tradition, a different DNA that are coming down between the two. Why doesn't Lehi send the boys back to Jerusalem just to gather a bunch of manuscripts, a bunch of papyri of all the different books somewhere? That's something that would have been written by the Jews somewhere in Judah. Why isn't he going there? Why does he have to go back and specifically get the brass plates?
Yeah.
Right? And I think that it looks to me like it is a specific DNA coming down through Joseph
that has an origin in
that has an
Egypt.
origin that has not lost the tradition and teachings about the Son of God.
Okay.
There's a verse which we were recording and we ran into it, and I'm not finding it again now. Somewhere in the Book of Mormon, which refers to a line of prophets, and somehow I've read over this verse like 1,000 times, and then we were reading it together. It talks about a line of prophets. It says from Moses to Abraham, and if you're just kind of in your autopilot scripture reading mode, yes, Moses. But if you think about what that means, what is a line of prophets that goes from Moses to? That's through the sojourn in Egypt.
Yes.
Right. Anyway, I'm not finding the verse right now. I'll probably find it afterwards. But I think there's an interesting possibility that some of the prophets that are mentioned, or of whom we have even an excerpt, might have been Egyptian. They're from that prophetic line referenced,
Or they're in the scribal school.
yes,
The Egyptian scribal school through Joseph.
yeah, and maybe they were even Hebrews, but in Egypt.
Yes.
And yes,
Because that's the tradition, right? You do have Akkadian, which is a very much a lingua franca kind of thing as well, but but Egyptian is the core language for the educated.
yeah,
And so this is what they would have adopted coming down, and this is why, for me, I know there's a lot of different theories about the Book of Mormon and Reformed Egyptian, and I think the brass plates and Nephi's, the small plates, are written in hieratic.
yeah.
That's my guess. They're written in hieratic because they come from Egypt. And Demotic had already started, but it's not the religious language. They're still holding on to hieratic, and then eventually you come down and you don't hear anything. Let's do this real quick. Let's go to 1 Nephi 1. Can we do that?
Yep.
Just go to 1 Nephi 1, and I want you to imagine Nephi as a scribe. Nephi as a scribe, and read the first 3 verses.
I, Nephi, having been born of goodly parents, therefore I was taught somewhat in all the learning of my father, and having seen so many afflictions in the course of my days, nevertheless, having been highly favored of the Lord in all my days, yea, having a great knowledge of the goodness and the mysteries of God, therefore I make a record of my proceedings in my days. Yea, I make a record in the language of my father, which consists of the learning of the Jews and the language of the Egyptians. And I know that the record which I make is true, and I make it with mine own hand, and I make it according to my knowledge.
Okay. He is giving a scribal testimony. That's the way I see that. He's giving a scribal testimony that any scribe would have to place there as he starts that off. I write it with my own hand. And Abraham does the same thing, by the way. And what is the language of his father? His language of his father is Egyptian. Right? And why would that be? What do you mean the language? There used to be this thought that, well, there was a bunch of accounting records in Egypt and in the land of Judah and Israel, and that's, maybe we can bring it together that way. They have some Egyptian, maybe that. No, this goes all the way back to Egypt and the prophets who were in Egypt writing spiritual scripture for their posterity.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, that you look at that as Nephi. In fact, it's really interesting. They just had last week the grand opening of the Egyptian Grand Museum. It's a phenomenal place. And I have this picture, and maybe we'll put this up afterward in editing. But I'm walking around, and I've got this whole paper I'm working on right now with the. It looks to me like the word Nephi probably comes from an Egyptian word of Nepher. Okay, Nepher means good, beautiful, complete.
Yep.
Okay, and that's why he says goodly parents right there. He's putting in a parallelism kind of with his name.
Yeah.
I Nephi.
A pun.
It looks to me, this is a little bit of a tangent, but it looks to me like that distant cousin Egyptian coming over to Hebrew, that the word that is being used for beautiful in only 2 places in the Old Testament, navu, is related to Nephi. And so I'm trying to put that together right now to show how that, I think they're tied.
Interesting.
I think they're tied together. But anyway.
So I was reading in my Egyptian grammar actually this morning. This is actually one of James Allen's examples. Words tended to lose their last consonant over time, and he says the word that an Egyptologist will synthetically pronounce as Nefer, he says, was probably pronounced something like Nephi. So that I've never heard the suggestion of Navu, but it's super interesting because like that's it. It becomes this 2-consonant word, right? So you're not comparing Nefer, you're comparing Nephi, Navu. Man, it's close.
Yeah, it's very close, and it's very close to the idea of shalom and in Egyptian mat. It's very, very similar to what it's almost like righteousness and iniquity. It's kind of how it works, but it's. There's right there in the Grand Museum, there is a statue of a scribe. And it's just interesting. It's not like it's tying this to anything, but his name is Nefer. Right? His name is Nefer. And this is where we see other names in Nefertiti, right? Nefertari. These are names with Nefer that are in them. They're used as proper names all the time. I want to go a little bit further down the scribal route here to the end of the Book of Mormon. Who is the mentor of Mormon? Is it Abinadab?
Amaron?
Amaron.
I think it's
okay.
Amaron.
So Amaron has this little kid.
Yep.
He's 10 years old.
Yep.
And he decides that he is sober and will be the guy to take care of things. How in the world does he know this? Well, he was probably with him for the last 5 years, since he was 5 years old, in a scribal school. And this is how Mormon is able to do what he does, because he has gone through this scribal training probably his whole life, which includes all of the skills of war and everything else that would go along with that. And by the time he's with Amaron for 5 years, Amaron knows that this is the guy that needs to take care of things.
Yeah.
So you have another young man, very young man. You're thinking, how can he go out as a general at, what was it, 14 or 16 or something, and do this? It's like, no, you don't understand. He's been trained.
He's being
since
trained.
he was a little kid.
Yeah.
Going through all of these things, and his command of then their reformed Egyptian is going. He's going to dominate this language, right? To be able to go through and take care of this.
Interesting. So real quick, because I this point Dave made it, but we didn't know the verse exactly. But I think it's really interesting considering what you're saying. Yeah. So it's Helaman 8:18.
All right.
And this is talking about how they testified of Christ all the time, right? And it says, "Behold, Moses did not only testify of these things, but also all the holy prophets from his days, even to the days of Abraham," which is weird. And Dave pointed this out. It's weird to have it go backwards in time. You think it'd be from Moses' days all the way to the time of whatever, but he goes from Moses to Abraham, which where is everything taking place from Moses to Abraham?
Exactly.
In Egypt. And so this idea that there were holy prophets living in the land of Egypt, and who's between Moses and Abraham? You got Joseph, and you have that whole line. And so I really think you're onto something with Egypt being the central place for not only, because I think a lot of times we say, oh, look at the Pharaoh only created a bastardized version of the temple, of the priesthood, of things like this, where it seems like what's being said in this verse in Helaman, that's written in a Reformed Egyptian, is that in Egypt, between Moses and Abraham, there were multiple holy prophets that were testifying of Christ.
Yes.
So that might be a good segue to get to where we're going now.
And by the way, this is in one of the Book of Mormon's at least 5 passages talking about the Nehushtan.
Nehushtan as well.
Right.
Yep.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get a little on the Nehushtan here.
Okay, cool.
You guys know I'm obsessed with that thing. But
So were the Nephites.
yeah, so a couple more things just on influence that we might see from Egypt. There is, for example, you have in Isaiah 6, where he has the vision. We see the seraphim. There's a coal that's put to the lips by one of the seraphim to Isaiah. This is Egyptian.
Okay.
This vision is an Egyptian context. Number one, the coal being placed there. Well, you know, there's a man named Kamos, the tale of Kamos, who I believe is a priest. The same exact thing happens with him, and what he's doing, the coal metaphorically represents purification.
Cleanses him.
It cleanses him, right, with that fire. And accounts in Egypt way before the time of Isaiah when we get this. Another one is there's another tale, and I don't remember the name of this. I read this a few years ago. I was just thinking about this, but there's another one that is very, very similar to what is it that when I don't want you to judge me, and there's a parable, or there's the saying of Christ when he says the mote and the beam.
The beam. Yeah.
Right? Okay, Egyptian. That is Egyptian. I've read the tale. It's Egyptian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Another one, the parable of Lazarus, and this will bring us eventually in with Osiris here. But the parable of Lazarus, I think it's interesting that Lazarus, the other Lazarus, the real Lazarus, is raised from the dead. He's resurrected, so to speak.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Lazarus is the Greek name for Eleazar, who is the servant of Abraham, who was the heir of Abraham before Ishmael and Isaac were born, right? He was adopted into the house of Israel, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. But the parable of Lazarus is also going to die and be resurrected. He's the poor man, and there's the rich man, right? And the poor man is the one that is brought to Abraham's bosom. Why Abraham, right? Why Abraham's bosom? Because it has to do with the idea of the covenant, of the Abrahamic covenant, and being tied to the seed of Abraham. Okay? This is what happens with Osiris as well with his story. So these are very Egyptian things, very Egyptian thoughts and concepts that are happening in the New Testament, the Old Testament. Many of the Psalms, many of the Proverbs are directly Egyptian that they have, because the Egyptians had their own wisdom literature. And a lot of that is borrowed and placed into the Proverbs and scattered a little bit in the Psalms as well. So lots of stuff that's in there from Egypt. We need to learn more about Egypt because we're losing concept. The seraphim that we've talked about a lot, that is Egyptian. That is an Egyptian idea, an Egyptian concept. I have seen thousands of seraphim, winged serpents, in Egypt.
Okay.
Engraved on pots, wherever, all over the place. And we'll look at a few that are very interesting in here. In fact, let's do that right now.
Yeah.
Can we do that? All right. Go to the seraphim throne. There's two of those.
Yep. Seraphim throne. I need to put these just in alphabetical order. Okay. Seraphim throne right here.
Okay. Now, do you see this? Now, think about Isaiah 6.
Wow.
Think about Isaiah 6, where this is a theophany in the Holy of Holies, where he is at the throne, and there are seraphim that he sees. One of them is going to bring a coal to his lips, right? This is one side of the throne. Now, we don't have the picture of it right here. Do you see the cobra right behind him?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So that's another one right there. There are 4 to 6 of them on the back that I do not have. Now show the next one.
Okay.
That's the other side. Okay. Another seraphim that is on the other side. Do you know whose throne this is?
Well, it's the king's, because it's, by the way, and I don't get like too much Mormon bee conspiracy, but it says Nesud beat he of the sedge the bee between the two wings. That's the title of the king. I haven't seen the name though.
Yeah, that is King Tut's throne.
That is all right. Tutankhamun.
Wow.
That is King Tut's throne.
Wait, so you just read that, Dave?
Those hieroglyphs?
Yes.
What?
You're
Why do you know how to read
It's amazing,
hieroglyphs, bro?
You're crazy, dude. Man, that is okay. So real quick, I do want to talk about something. There's obviously a difference than what's described by Isaiah. He talks about 6 wings, right? Are there what's up? So there's not 6 wings on these snakes, right?
No.
Okay.
There's
All
not.
right.
No, but the idea, the seraphim, the idea is a winged serpent.
I mean, there kind of
wings
is
are-
6 wings.
Wings are used in a lot of different ways.
Look
in
at this
Egypt,
real
for
quick.
example.
There actually is kind of 6 wings. Look at it.
Yeah.
There's 1, 2, 3. Like there's like 3 wings. within that one.
I see what you're saying.
You
Yeah,
know what I'm
those are
saying?
six.
I don't know if that's it, but
He
it's
is-
Sure.
He is
It's
the
interesting.
He is the son of Akhenaten.
Yes.
Right. And so he restores Orthodox Egyptian religion afterwards.
Correct.
This is after that period. Because of the ideology, and I got it doesn't say Tutankhamun, it says Tutankhaten.
Yes. Well, that's because his name was Tutankhaten to start with,
And then became
and then he became
Tutankhamun
Tutankhamun because of
Oh,
the
he got a
theological
new
change.
name.
he received a new
The
name.
theological change.
That's really random.
His
That's
father
just
was the one who had the rule or the theology of Aten, which is
Okay,
the
how old is this freaking
Yeah,
thing?
where'd they find this?
It's in this
well, they
tomb,
found
obviously.
this
Yeah.
in his tomb.
Yeah. And how old are we talking?
Tutankhamun is going back.
like 1600 or 1800 BC. It's before Ramses is later.
Ramses is later. He's in the 1300s, I believe.
Could you imagine making something
yeah,
that
that's about
lasts
right,
that
around
long?
1600.
And is
That
this
is-
beautiful
Hey, you know
right
what?
now?
That is wood.
That's
No,
wood?
it's not.
Yeah, it is. That is wood that is
That's
layered with
carved
gold.
wood with gold
Yeah.
laid on top.
It could only that could
yeah.
only exist in Egypt because of how arid it is and all that. Like
Well, and because it was
sealed.
buried.
yeah.
It was buried, right? Now, on the front here, also, you're going to see two lions that are up there,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about this in a second here a little bit more. But what I want you to think about here is the next thing I want you to do is, you know what? Let's continue with the serpent here a little bit.
Okay.
Go to the go to what do we have here? Apophis.
Apophis. Opet temple or
No.
Should be an A.
oh Apophis right here. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so this is in the tomb of Seti II. It is absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, vibrant. It's incredible. Most of what you see here is a variation on the Book of the Dead, which is called the Book of Gates. Now, what you're going to get in Egypt is something very similar to what we do in the temple. We don't do it quite as much anymore after the last few years, but there is a complete theme of snakes. There are probably 2,000 or 3,000 snakes in this tomb.
Interesting.
And they're going to use it in different ways. There is a negative snake, which is Apophis. It represents chaos. And then you're going to have Mehen, which is going to be the protector and guardian of the pharaoh, and or in this case, it's going to be Ra or Amun-Ra.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an example here where you've got this is the control over Apophis and over chaos. Go to the next one. Go to Book of Gates. I think is what
Book
we
of
named
Gates.
it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so crazy. That's such a coincidence with the
Two
dichotomy
different snakes.
between the
Yeah.
two snakes.
So here you have more. Here you have the cobras that are across the top here.
Yep.
You've got the coiled going down below here.
Yeah.
And everywhere, every wall, almost everywhere you look, and this is a very large, multi-layered tomb, you're going to see snakes going everywhere. Now, what the Book of the Gates is they believed that if you look at facsimile number 2, you have a 360-degree circle on that hypocephalus, right? So what they believe is that as Amun-Ra went through the sky, Ra as the sun, there was 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night. And that as you died, and as Ra would go through the 360 degrees every day, that to get through death on the dark side, you had to go through 12 gates for the 12 hours. At each one of those gates, there was a guardian. The guardian was a snake. And the only way you could get through the guardian is to give the proper name.
Huh. Of the guardian or just a
Just a name. There's a
name.
certain name that has to be given. Yeah.
Yeah.
To each one of those gates.
Huh.
Okay, to get through each one. Now go to Mehen.
Dave, it looked like you were going to say something.
No, just
Okay.
thinking.
So are these things like carved into the wall and then painted?
Yeah, what they do is they have the stone. These are in a mountain. They're literally inside of a mountain. They're tombs that go down inside a mountain.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and in the mountain, they'll go through and they'll plaster it with limestone or something. And usually it's not always this way, but usually they'll engrave into the limestone. They'll
Yeah.
engrave into the
But this
plaster.
looks like it's embossed instead of.
Yeah, it's bas relief. or bas relief.
Bas relief.
Yeah. So they do, this one here is the opposite of that. They do that also, which is an unbelievable amount of work.
How do you do that?
Yeah, unbelievable amount of work. But you have here the good snake. This is Mehen. And what Mehen does is, Mehen is the protector of Amun-Ra there, who's going through the boat during the nighttime.
Ooh, does he have bull horns on his head?
He's a ram.
He's a ram. Yeah, he's a ram. And so Mehen, it becomes the positive snake. Now I want you to go back and think about the story of the brazen serpent.
Yeah.
You have these bad seraphim, and it's exactly what they're called in Hebrew.
Yep. Fire snakes.
Fiery.
Fireys.
And when we say fiery in this, we don't want to think of Greek fire. Right?
Like poisonous?
Like it's poisonous. They're poisonous flying serpents.
Yeah.
Okay? The poisonous flying serpents, and we think about, well, they must be flying. I don't believe that. I think this comes from the iconography of Egypt.
Yeah.
They're calling them something based on their current cultural knowledge that they get from Egypt, and that these are bad, right?
Yep.
These are the bad type. And then they're going to look toward a seraphim. That is a seraphim on the staff.
Yep.
It is a fiery flying serpent.
Yep.
Okay, that snake is never depicted this way, would have wings.
Yep.
Okay. And so this would be like the brazen serpent here, the protector.
Yeah.
The one that, protecting Amun-Ra here in this case, but all of us as we go through death and through the underworld. Okay? So you have the two different types of snakes and iconography that we get in Egypt and in the Old Testament.
Crazy.
So this is an image of the sun, right? I mean, it's Amun-Ra as the sun, Ra as the sun.
Correct.
Amun is the hidden one. He became sort of syncretized with Ra.
Yes.
And the sun sails. The sky is water.
Correct.
The underworld is water.
Yes.
The horizons are marshes.
Yes.
And so this is him. And you can see the name Mehen is what's the two things, but to the right of the snake, that
Right
spells
here. Yes.
Mehen right there.
That's right.
Shoot, I was something else, but I've forgotten it. So this is him in the underworld. This is the sun sailing through the 12 hours of the night, being protected from the forces of chaos by Mehen.
And in this case, there's two different major myths in Egypt. There is Ra, or Amun-Ra here, and there's Osiris. And there's two different parables or mythology about death and resurrection. This has to do with the sun. Osiris has to do with death and resurrection.
Okay.
Okay. So yes. So this is, again, the iconography here is all from Egypt. It's not from the Old Testament that they're coming up with this stuff.
Interesting.
Okay? Now, do me a favor here. I told you about the lion. I want you to go to the Sphinx.
The Sphinx. Yeah, which was not originally Sphinx, or not originally Pharaoh head.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. I've watched a lot of videos on how it originally was a lion's head, and you can see all the erosion and everything, and it looks as if the Pharaoh's head was built on top of the original structure of the Sphinx.
That's possible. I will say that most of the Sphinxes, there's a lot of Sphinxes that are around. They're all with a Pharaoh head.
Yeah, no. The point, the claim is that this is the first one that really old, and that when they decided to make the Pharaoh's head the Sphinx, then that's why all the Sphinxes are.
There's a claim. Some people believe that the body of the Sphinx shows water erosion, and that it's older than a lot of the structures in Egypt.
Okay.
That come from the Y files there?
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting.
Anyway, so if you see here, this is out in front of the three major pyramids of Giza here.
Yep.
Okay. It's a guardian. It is there to guard sacred spaces. This is iconography of the temple. We use it all the time today as well.
Cherubim.
But you have to be the cherubim, right? The cherubim, the seraphim, the Sphinx, they're all the same thing. They're guardians of sacred spaces. You look at the Notre Dame, and you've got the gargoyles, these ugly, strange creatures. They're outside their temple. That's the Catholics' temple, so to speak.
Yeah.
To ward off those that are not worthy to come in. That's basically what they're for. Okay. So
interesting.
You've got also the tail
to protect the tree of life.
To protect the tree of life. Okay. So you've got here, which actually means judgment. The cherubim are judgment
Yeah.
in that story. It's exactly what they are. This is also judgment. There is the tale of Oedipus, the tragedy, the Greek tragedy of Oedipus. This is actually down in Thebes. It's not here in Giza, but the tale of Oedipus is that there is a sphinx roaming around Thebes, which is Luxor, and devouring everybody. And the sphinx would go around and say, give a riddle to everyone. And the riddle was, what walks on 4 feet in the morning, 2 feet midday, and 3 feet at night? Okay, and that's the riddle, and no one could get it. And it's just going around devouring all these people, and everyone's scared about it, right?
Do you know what it is?
Because I cheat. I've read it.
What is it?
And so the answer is man, right?
Man.
You're born and you crawl around on 4 feet. As you become a man,
When you're old, you walk with a cane.
And when you're old, you walk with a cane. Okay? So Oedipus gets this right. He answers it right, and the Sphinx is all mad. But the point is, the riddle is a password. It's a key word to be able to get past the Sphinx to the sacred space, right? So we do the same thing in the temple. You used to have sentinels.
Yeah.
To get through the sentinels. The sentinels are guards. They're soldiers. And in order to get through the sentinels to the sacred space of the celestial room,
Yeah.
you have to give the key words. You have to give the right answers to be tested. That is, and again, that is judgment that you're going through
Yeah.
to be able to see that you're worthy in order to progress and to
Interesting.
make it there.
So to kind of probably put a bow on this part to move to the next part, just this idea of, throughout the Old Testament, we have the serpent motif, the seraphim. We see how that is in Egypt, which obviously predates, Isaiah and all of that. We have these guardians who are placed before sacred space to block people from getting in unless you have certain passcodes. And now we're getting into, very familiar space for people who are endowed.
Yeah. Oh, now we'll move in. Do you have something to say, Dave?
Yeah, here's a fun little. I mean, this is just a parenthetical on a side, but I was reading a commentary recently about the names of God, and the author, who's a Scandinavian scholar, said that when Moses sees the burning bush, and the burning bush says, Ehye Asher Ehye, I am that I am, he says that is a password being given to Moses, so that Moses will go repeat it to the Israelites to prove he knows their God.
And by the way, what happens there?
He takes off his shoes, and is given a staff and commission.
And what happens to the staff?
The staff, it's the serpent staff.
Okay, it turns into a serpent, and then
And by the way, it's called the staff of the gods, the Mateha Elohim.
yes, it is.
In
It's
the
the
Old
staff of the
Testament.
gods,
Yeah.
and
Really?
then he goes to the palace
Yep.
and throws down the staff, and it turns into a serpent.
And eats the other serpents.
And the magi, the magicians, which are really lector priests, they're called lector priests. They're the priesthood of the Egyptians who do not have the priesthood. That's the
At
key
that time.
understanding there. Reading the book of Abraham, they don't have the priesthood, right? Moses has the Melchizedek priesthood from Jethro. That's the story.
Yep.
Moses has the authority. The Egyptians do not. They do not have the priesthood. That's the whole story between the two there. Moses is supposed to rule Egypt, in a sense, right? But theirs turns into a serpent also, right? And so you have the good serpent and the bad serpent, right? And the good serpent devours the other, just like if you look to the brazen serpent, you're saved from the fiery flying serpents that are in Israel. So anyway, where was I going with that?
But to the Osiris myth.
Okay,
I
we're
think.
going to the Osiris myth. That's right. Okay, so to lay the foundation on the Osiris myth, because this one is really important and really interesting, and it goes right to facsimile number 1.
Okay.
We look at facsimile number 1, and we see something that we think is complete. We've got Abraham laying down on a lion couch. You get a lot of critics of the church and Joseph Smith saying that it's false and for several different reasons, and
It's
the
just a
interpretation is
typical
wrong.
funerary text. Is that
Typical funerary
Okay.
text and all of these different things here. What we don't realize is that this is simply a snapshot of the whole myth.
Yeah.
It is a small little part of something that testifies of Christ completely. And we're just looking at this little piece of this right here. Okay? So in order to understand all of this, well, let me do this first and go over one of the biggest criticisms of Joseph Smith with this. Before 1967, I think, when we got the parchments back from the Metropolitan Museum, there was no source to know for sure what this came from. Right? We didn't know. It was gone. It had been lost for a very long time. It's really interesting to follow the trail of where this went and how it ended up at the museum. And a lot of stories that go along with this. They're fascinating. But we didn't have the source of this. And so one of the major problems with this was that most of what they had found at that time, which was not that much at the time, that comes from this period, these are actually mostly Greco-Roman period, is you would never have, this is Osiris laying on the bed in facsimile number 1.
But he's not laying.
But he's not laying.
Yeah.
And Joseph Smith said that's Abraham. And that's the first thing, it's the number one issue for people to say, oh, it's all false, it's all fake. That's the god Osiris, it's not Abraham. Yeah, and they're so wrong. They're so wrong.
Explain.
But you look here.
Explain yourself.
I am explaining myself. So you look here at Osiris, his feet are apart.
Yep.
When you have the feet apart of any statue anywhere, or drawing or engraving anywhere, what that means is that they're alive.
Yeah.
Okay, that's alive for it. So if I'm having something built as the Pharaoh and I want a statue of myself, the feet are going to be apart because I'm living. Right? If it is a past Pharaoh who's already dead,
His feet are together.
the feet are together.
Okay.
Okay? So it was always shown before as the feet being together. Well, of course, once the parchment shows up from the Metropolitan Museum, it's like, oh, his feet were apart.
Okay.
Parchment shows them apart.
Interesting.
And so
What's his actual facsimile called? Like what is it called in Egyptological circles?
I think it's called the Joseph Smith facsimile.
No, I know, but like the other ones that are like this with Osiris.
It's the Book of Breathings. It's a whole family of books, though, isn't it? The Book of Breathings, and then there's a person's name on it, like by someone or something.
Typically, this one's Hor.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Oh no, you're talking about like by Isis. Yeah, this one is from Isis. There are variations of it. And by the way, it's important to understand. We think of as we delve into the myth of Osiris on this, the Egyptians didn't have mythology. Right? We look at this in the Greeks and the Romans, and we look at the Egyptians, and we say, oh yeah, they were pagans and they had this mythology. That's so wrong. It is so wrong to say that. They were religious. Yep. They were incredibly religious. They were focused on two things: life after death and exaltation. Life after death and exaltation is what they were focused on.
Yep.
And they were worried about the judgment. They were worried about being good people. Right? They had the 42 negative confessions they would have to go through in the judgment scene, which is very interesting when we look at that. But this is religion. They were religious people, and they had a form of the truth.
This isn't the Avengers. This isn't like their version of the Avengers.
Exactly.
Which is kind of how it's portrayed. It's like it's almost like entertainment myth, you know what I mean? But it's more than that.
Well, I was going to say two things. One, the other thing about that figure is that he's praying. Right?
Supplication,
He's not dead.
And that's also rare. What you see here is you see him with two hands up.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's like this. This is in the form of supplication or prayer, right? What you will see though, is usually you got his hands on his chest, crossed like this, and his feet together. But what we'll show you here is you will see several with him with one hand up, which means that he's speaking.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go over that in a minute here. But the parchments show that the feet were apart, and if they would have known more of this at the time, they would have been able to find out easily that this was true anyway, because it's in the temples. It's in the Egyptian temples. Go to Opet temple.
Opet.
So these explanations of all these things in facsimile 1, is that from like Joseph's translation?
That's Joseph's.
Okay.
That's Joseph's, and Egyptologists would never agree with. But even if you look at someone like Rittner, who's from the University of Chicago, who wrote a whole book on the Joseph Smith papyri and hammers Joseph Smith.
Robert Rittner, right?
Yeah. He doesn't talk about the myth of Osiris in the way it's supposed to be spoken of. And he knows it. He knows it inside and out.
Yeah.
And he holds back on this whole idea of this being Abraham. And I'll show you why it, in this case, is Abraham.
Okay.
But doesn't have to be Abraham.
Yeah.
Okay? But it's not really Osiris.
Yeah.
It shouldn't surprise. I mean, the Osiris is a very old figure. Plutarch tells us the story of Osiris, but we see Osiris like in the Old Kingdom,
Yes.
carved in the pyramid text. And Osiris seems to be somebody whom you become. The king goes through rites in life, maybe, and that teach him about the journey after his death, where he'll become the blessed Osiris. So it shouldn't surprise us to see a text illustrated where the Osiris kind of motifs are
Used for
to
Abraham.
illustrate the central character.
It's never Osiris.
Yeah,
It's never about Osiris. It's about somebody
yeah.
It's always about
who's
somebody.
dead. And
The blessed dead.
the blessed dead. And in the case we'll look at it, the primary myth of all of this is for the king.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go to the Opet, you see this. This is, when you go to Karnak, Karnak is amazing. It's got this, it is this massive 200-acre complex. And in here, this is a small temple off to the side that you cannot get into unless you know the right people. And the Temple of Opet here, this is in the room as you walk in to the back and to the left. This is what you find. And as you see here, you've got Osiris, the figure of Osiris, with his feet apart and his one arm up in speaking. Okay? This is also a snapshot of the myth. Above here, this is going to be, it's Isis. It's also, you can say that this is actually Amun-Ra, who is going to be visiting Osiris much closer for an intimate relationship, right? Because this is part of the Abrahamic covenant. It's about fertility. It's about your posterity. It's about everything else. But this is what this is here. That now, this bird is being used differently than what we get in our facsimile.
Yeah.
Right? Our facsimile one does have other variations that you can find similar to our bird here, who represents the spirit of
Of the Lord.
the
Angel
Lord,
of the Lord.
the angel of the Lord. But that's what's happening here. So this is just another example. This isn't even a funerary thing. This is in a temple,
Yeah.
right, where we have a live Osiris on the lion couch bed.
And we need to look at Osiris as less of a character and more of a title for someone.
Or a type.
A type.
A type, I would say.
Okay.
It's a title, but I would say a type. Now, before I go to the next series, I want to talk about this, and we've talked about this before. I think I did this with Mike Day. I don't remember if that was on mine or yours, but and with Dave also. But anciently, this was very central to all civilizations, including Egypt. This is at Karnak here. This is called the Temple of Opet. Every year they had something called the Opet Festival. There is an avenue of the Sphinxes, which is roughly, let's just say, 2 miles long.
Yeah.
It's just lined with sphinxes, small sphinxes, all the way down to the Temple of Luxor. Okay, very close. They're both in Luxor. Okay, every year they would take the bark, the boat, which for the Hebrews would be a chariot, or the Ark of the Covenant, even, and they would put the god inside. It was Amun-Ra. Maybe Mut and Khonsu also, but they would have Amun-Ra in there, and they would carry the bark, the priest would put it on their back, and carry it down to the Luxor temple. There at the Luxor temple, it would go to a birthing room in the temple, and this is where Amun-Ra and basically the pharaoh, and Isis is probably involved with this, but basically you have a fertility rite that happens here. And what this is showing is that the pharaoh is fertile and will produce or will continue to produce heirs, right, for his family and to rule.
Yeah.
Right? It is also happening right at the time that the Nile is flooding. So this is all about the agricultural fertility as well. The pharaoh's fertility and the agricultural fertility are completely tied together. Okay? So this is it's also a coronation time. So the king is going to be crowned again. Now, typically, anciently, and this is in many civilizations, the way that this crowning ceremony happens is that, including, by the way, the Israelites and Judah, is that you have to have a substitute that's going to die. because the Pharaoh has to die and be reborn. And so there has to be a substitute that's made. And this happens often where they would actually have human sacrifice and they would kill somebody.
In Egypt, they would?
Yeah, in Egypt and in other civilizations. Some people argue that fact. I think they did. But there would be a substitute that would have to be supplied for this. And then the king will sometimes be represented as going down to the basement. This actually happened in Judah. You go down to the basement of the temple. He's gone for 3 days. All of the lights in Judah are turned off. You can't even light a match or a lamp or anything. All the lights. And then the king is going to come back up after 3 days. He's going to be in a different regalia. He's probably going to go into the Holy of Holies and come back out born again. This is Psalm 110. Okay. So that is the coronation ceremony that's going to represent not just the king, obviously, but it represents, in the case of Judah, Jehovah, right? And in the case of Egypt here, this is Amun-Ra.
Amun-Ra.
All right?
Okay.
So with that in mind, let's go to the Osiris myth. All right, so if we look here, this is at the temple of Dendera, or Dendra.
So this is Osiris Myth 6, Brando. Okay.
Okay, so here we have, this is the actual second image here. To the image to the right, you can see it's a separate wall that's coming over.
Yep.
What you have is a king, all right, a king with those that are around him. And now we get to this here, and what you have here is a man with a mace. This guy is acting as Seth, or Set, who is the evil brother of Osiris. This is the same typography as the war in heaven. And he is going to kill the king. Okay? And he kills him with this mace here. Okay? In his bed.
Yeah.
All right, go to the next one. I don't know which one we're going to have here. Okay, so here you see again the fertility rite. See the bird coming down onto his phallus.
Yeah.
Right here. All right, so there's going to be a fertility rite here. Again, this is about posterity. So this is for the king, and think again, we're going through Osiris here, who in facsimile 1 and facsimile 3, Joseph Smith says is Abraham in this example. All right, so Abraham in the very first facsimile number 1 is going to be killed. Very possibly, and I think Nibley said this, Abraham is acting as the substitute for the Pharaoh or for Nimrod in Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
Right? He's going to act as the substitute. But then, of course, Jesus becomes the actual substitute in this case and saves him, and actually the priest dies in this case, right? So here you have a fertility rite. This is also about the story of Abraham and his fertility or lack of it, and making sure that he had posterity, right? Okay, go to the next one.
The one previously when he's...
I want the one... Yeah, that one's fine.
Okay.
Okay, here... You've got, this is, I believe, the next one or two from the last one. As you can see, this is all across this one, they call this an Osiris chapel. And it's all throughout the 4 walls of the chapel here. And here you have on one side, you've got Nephthys and you've got Isis. On the other side, they're kind of the guardians. They're sister goddesses that are watching over him. And basically, they're going to be preparing him for resurrection. Go to the next one.
Okay. Isis is his wife.
Sister.
This is his is the wife of Seth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this anything right here?
You mean, is he
We are.
Yeah. Is he?
We don't. We
right
speak in
too?
vagaries.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Let's see. This one?
Nope.
No, that's what we did.
Nope. Yep.
Yep. Right here. Okay.
Okay.
Osiris Myth 2.
2.
So here you've got Anubis entering here, and we see here that instead, in facsimile number 1, we've got a priest with a knife.
Yep.
Here you've got Anubis coming in here, and what Anubis is going to do is he's going to prepare him for mummification at this point. Okay, keep going. Go to the next one.
Which his feet are together right there.
His feet are together. He's dead.
Yep.
He is dead. He's been killed.
Okay.
Okay, then we come over here to the other wall, and here now you see something different about him. This is after he's been killed and prepared and mummified, right?
Oh, his feet are now.
His feet are apart, and his hand is up speaking. He is speaking here again. Now, I don't know, I haven't found anything from the Egyptologists on what might be happening in this exact scene.
Yeah.
Or what he might be saying here. but he is alive here again. Okay, go to the next one.
Okay.
This one.
Okay.
Okay, now here, all of a sudden, Osiris is coming up and is living again. He's being resurrected here. You see the wings coming down here. It's a sign of protection. He's coming up. He's got his flail and his scepter here again. He is resurrected as the new king, so to speak. Go to the next one.
So, let me ask a question, maybe. We've been sort of being a little funny about it, but like part of the Osiris story is that his penis goes missing,
Yes.
right? And so it's interesting to me that until now, every scene, maybe he's been, as the Egyptologists would say, ichthyphallic, having
Yes.
an obvious phallus.
Yes.
And here, for the first time, he doesn't. So in the story at this point, because his wife Isis goes looking far and wide
Yes.
to try and find the missing part, is he?
No, he is restored.
He is okay. All right.
Because she had to restore that. Remember when the bird came down?
Yeah.
He had already been restored there.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It's just not poking out anymore.
Yeah, it's
Dave's
just
real
not poking
concerned
out
about this thing.
Okay.
He's
I'm just
he's
trying to get a
he's
proper
waking.
understanding
He's
of
trying to
this
figure out where it went.
He's waking up from a long sleep.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, so then we have a full resurrection here. He's up off the bed and everything, and he's on his own here. So what we look at here, this is the full myth of the king. See, the king is Osiris. When this started off, it wasn't Osiris. It was the king that was represented. And the king becomes Osiris, so to speak, as he goes through the process and goes through resurrection, okay? So everybody knows this, and Rittner knows this. When you are buried with funerary text, right, and you're basically pulling all this together and buried with something like we have here from the Book of Breathings with the Book of Abraham, whoever is the person who is dead and has buried it is, for example, let's say it's Bob.
Yeah.
You are Bob Osiris. You would be Dave Osiris, Hayden Osiris, Jackson Osiris.
Oh, really?
Everybody is put into that type as you go through it. You are, and this is important to understand too, you are taking on the name of God
Yeah.
as you go through that type. You're taking on the name of God, just like the king does
resurrection.
in the temple drama. He takes on the name of Jehovah
Yeah.
as he does that, and he goes through that very similar ritual that he is going through. So the entire idea of saying that this is Abraham is so obvious to anyone that actually understands the Osiris myth,
Yeah.
because this was his funerary text. Right? This is basically saying this is for him. This is for his temple.
Yeah.
His temple
Abraham
endowment.
Osiris.
He's Abraham Osiris.
Should look like Osiris.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what it is being used as here. And in fact, we know this.
So
That's
we're
not-
the text though is the claim though that the text that Joseph had actually from Abraham's like tomb?
No.
No.
This is from, and I've been right by the tomb. This is from Pit Tomb. I want to say 33. I don't know if that's right or not, but
Yeah, Bruce Porter went and found
He went and
all
found
those,
it.
which is crazy.
Yes, he
yeah,
did.
that story's
Crazy.
awesome.
so he found it. But he also found the will, and he also found several other things.
Yeah, he found a lot of cool stuff.
But no, this was not like one of the mummies was an Abraham.
Yeah.
Or something like that this was found with. No.
Right.
But the writings were about that.
Were about it.
And if you look at the facsimiles, basically what you're getting is the endowment. It's Abraham's endowment. These were not just used for, you see all these in temples.
Yeah.
This wasn't just used for the dead.
Yeah.
This was their living religion,
Yeah.
right? We were told that these are funerary, pieces of funerary text that are put in papyri
like-
that are put in there.
yeah.
No.
It's like saying, this is a perfect way. It's like someone digging a member of the church up, 1,000 years from now, and they're dressed in temple clothes, and they're like, see, these are what they would do. These are their burial clothes.
Yes, exactly.
And it's just like, they're not just their burial clothes.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's a perfect
Okay.
example. Perfect example.
Interesting.
But as you go through the book of Abraham, the first third of the book is related to facsimile number 1, the death of the king,
Yeah.
or the death of the pharaoh, or the death of the god, right? The second portion is facsimile number 2, which is the resurrection and ascension,
Okay.
is what that represents. The third part, that goes with facsimile 3, we don't have.
Yeah.
That's missing. We've never had that third part of the book.
Or it's in the granite vaults with the book of
Or
Joseph.
it's in the granite vault. Yes. So yeah. So I you know, these are things that are, their religion was very similar in that sense. They believed in life after death. They believed in exaltation, and there's several other examples that we can look at that correlate directly to our temple work today.
What else about our temple work did you see over there?
Yes, please.
Wait, hold on. Let me make some comments here.
Wind Dave up. Let's let him rip.
No, just some small comments. One, when the Book of Abraham was first published, was it Times and Seasons that published it? The heading introducing it said purporting to be written by Abraham, right? Which fully leaves the door open for the phenomenon of pseudepigraphy, meaning maybe somebody else wrote it, right? And as we eventually we dropped that, but actually,
Or even copied it.
or even copied it, or even in good faith believed that it was right. And I think I've been a long time since I've read this, but I think that some of the hieroglyphs have a sort of a late form, suggesting maybe that the version we have probably doesn't date to 2000 BC.
No.
It's a Hellenistic era, right? So a couple things there. On the Osiris stuff. So one, this has an astral connection because the pharaoh as Osiris is also seen in the night sky as the constellation Orion. Mm-hmm. So you're becoming immortal. You're becoming a god. You're turning into literally stars.
To the stars.
There's another connection which is super fun, which is the Sermon on the Mount. So the Beatitudes use the word makarios. Makarioi, blessed or happy, are the whoever because whatever. Okay? So sometimes Greeks, New Testament people, instead of Beatitudes, will call them macarisms.
Macarisms,
okay? Because
yeah.
Beatitudes comes from the Latin beati, the whoever. Mm-hmm. Okay. Makarios does not seem to be a Greek word. Where does Makarios come from? A likely candidate is Egyptian, and it comes out of Osirian religious texts. Ma'ar is happy or blessed, and it describes the state of the exalted Osiris after he has passed through his judgment.
Ma'ar or mer.
So, yeah. So that seems to be the source of the language for the Beatitudes. In other words, that the blessing, blessed are the meek. The blessing is the blessings that are received by the blessed dead, right? The exalted dead.
Interesting.
And that it comes down from Osiris practice, Osiris exaltation rites.
Interesting.
That would not surprise me at all.
That's
That
crazy.
certainly would not surprise me.
It's really interesting as well to picture the idea of a young Christ growing up and learning the story of Osiris as he's growing up. Maybe even going through, I don't know what the rules were when it came to Egyptian temples, but maybe participating even in some of these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's another, a lot of secular historians and Egyptologists and, people that are not believers, they'll say, oh, well, the story of Jesus Christ is just the story of the Osiris.
Of Osiris, yeah.
Right? Where you've got a father and then the son, but they get it wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Horus, the son of Osiris, is not Christ.
Yeah.
That's the king. Mm-hmm. Horus is attached to the king or the priest, the king priest. So this is... I would suggest that this is more like Horus is Peter.
Yeah.
Or the king of the land.
Yeah.
Okay? Osiris is Christ. Uh-huh. Osiris is the one that dies and that is resurrected and that we all then go through as Osiris, so to speak, because of the way that has been opened by him. So this whole idea about the Son of God is Horus and that's like Christ, that makes zero sense. Those are people that don't understand Egyptology at all. Horus is the king.
Yeah.
Horus is the priest.
He's not God. Osiris. Okay, so that's interesting too, because We had a conversation actually with a recent convert last night. It was really cool about the temple, and he's like trying to figure out when he wants to go through, and he's like, it's, you know, shrouded in mystery, and we tried to share a little bit about there. And one of the things we talked about is like the garments are, you put them on, and you are putting on Christ, right? And so that way, when you stand at the veil before God, he doesn't see you, he sees Christ. And you are able to enter his presence, right? So this idea of like Christ being Osiris and how we all become Osiris, it just follows that same pattern of like,
absolutely,
we put on the robes of the robes of Christ that in a funny way of looking at trick God into thinking that we're Christ so that we can enter his presence and become joint heirs.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
it's funny. So the response to, oh, it's just Jesus is just Osiris. No, Jesus is Osiris.
Yes,
that's great.
Yeah,
right. And one of his aspects of Osiris is Wep Wawet, which is the opener of the ways, and it's often symbolized by a dog, right?
Wep Wawet.
Wep Wawet.
Okay, that's cool.
Or Upwout in like older texts, because transliteration practices have changed.
Yeah, of course.
So
The fact you know this stuff.
You're such a
book right over there.
You're such a freak.
You said this morning when I was reading my Egyptian grammar book, it's like, is that your daily routine? That's insane.
Yes. So, but the point is, okay, so that's great. So here's a way to think about Christ, right? Just who Christ is. He opens the way for what? For us to get past the judgment, so we are not eaten by the monster, Amount, right? And so we can have the blessings of the blessed dead, which is to become Osiris ourselves, right? It's not that Jesus is just Osiris. It's, oh my goodness, Jesus is Osiris.
Yeah.
It's
cool.
It's interesting also because when you go to in Memphis, right? There's not much left of it.
Not Tennessee.
It's all underground. Not Tennessee, but Egypt. That's where they found the Shabaka stone. And the Shabaka stone now is in the British Museum.
It's the oldest. It's the oldest written story, right? Or
it's possibly the oldest written story. So the actual engraving on it, which is basically it's a millstone, is what it looks like, is roughly around 700 BC.
I'll pull it up.
I've seen that. I've been to the British Museum and seen that.
Yeah, so it's about 700
Wait, you saw the
BC.
Shabaka stone?
Yeah.
But it is referring
Shabaka.
to
I
a
touched it
previous
too, and it said, "Don't
document
touch."
Yep.
that,
You touched it.
if some Egyptologists are right, would be the oldest written document in the world. And that document is a temple drama, right? It's a temple drama with Ptah, who's probably like the father god, the creator god. Yeah, that's it. Much of it is destroyed. But what is fascinating about this, and this is, by the way, in my book, the DBR here, the word, he creates the world by the word of his mouth.
Yeah.
And in this is a play. It's a drama. So it has everything from stage directions in it, like he entered in from the left, he leaves on the right. We brought this in on stage. It's all about the premortal world and the council of the gods as they're getting ready to create the world. And there's an individual that is sent to be the one. It's going to be Horus versus Set, who is going to be the evil one, right? There's a battle between the two of them and difference in ideas and theology and everything else. It's the premortal world.
Interesting.
Is what this is talking about.
What's up with like the marks in it? Those were made after the fact,
Yeah,
right?
this was stopped and used as a millstone, I believe. They grabbed this. Someone grabbed this and just used this as a millstone.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
which is
crazy.
actually insanely symbolic. Mike Day would be probably really interested in that. Like the idea of Mike's way into the threshing floor, right? And like the idea of like the place where the seeds, like that's the Holy of Holies. And
Sure, it is. It's a striking coincidence.
it's a striking coincidence that that's how it was used.
Millstone is a cosmic image.
Yeah, exactly. So, but this is to have an understanding. This is their religion. It is not mythology. It is. When you read in the book of Abraham, you'll see that Egyptus brings her son Pharaoh, which is just a name, which is what all of the kings, they're kings of Egypt, but they're called Pharaoh, just like in the Book of Mormon. Nephi is the first king, and then they're all called Nephi after that.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same idea. Pharaoh is the title. It's a title that's given to them as the king of Egypt. But this is their religion, and it is... Pharaoh was a righteous man who tried to imitate the fathers, the patriarchs, in their priesthood and their temple and everything else.
Yeah.
He just didn't have the authority to do it. But he designs everything after the patriarchs, after what Noah and Enoch and everybody else. And that's what we get here as we come down with their religion, which is, you start off with the pyramid text. It's the oldest that we have. The really only real good place we have of that is in the Pyramid of Unas, which is in Saqqara. Right there. That's a picture of one of the walls there. You see the stars up there on the ceiling. I actually have a video on this, and I'm not supposed to, but this is the pyramid text. Then it gets, what happened, this is only for the Pharaoh, right? And then it moves to the coffin text, and they start putting it out on the coffins.
Yeah.
And then they move to the Book of the Dead and to a funerary text.
And what's there on the walls, that is the Osiris rite. What's there in the pyramid text, like that is for the benefit of the king.
That's
only
correct.
In the king's
name. And and he kind of represented the people, right? Sure. But it was just him. But what you see here is a slow democratization.
Yep.
That moves from the pyramid text, to the coffin text, to the Book of the Dead, to the Book of Breathings,
right?
Which is what we get from Joseph Smith's papyri.
So the coffin texts are on big stone sarcophagi. You still have to be pretty wealthy to get those.
Yes.
And you get a truncated version, just short. Egyptologists call them spells. You just get some sentences out of this whole thing.
Correct.
And then you get the Book of the Dead, which is you can be a little less wealthy and have that. But the Book of Breathings is like a pamphlet version where you can be.
It's for the poor people.
Poor, right, and you can get that, and it's just tucked in your wrapper when you're not even embalmed.
And so
you're just buried in the sand.
These are essentially this might be completely off, but are these books essentially just like instructions on exaltation? Is one way of looking at it, like, hey, you're about to go through, you're stepping into this next world. This is how you ascend and become an Osiris.
Yeah, it's, again, the focus is resurrection and exaltation. It's their living religion, and it's also an instruction on how to go through the underworld and get to exaltation, right?
Yeah.
But what I find is fascinating is this is what we do in the temple. And we are all, it is now democratized through Joseph Smith fully to everyone.
Right. To everyone.
To become kings and queens, or pharaohs and pharaohesses, and priests and priestesses.
I think this is what Jesus in his mortal ministry was doing too. I think this is the feeding of the 5,000. He's out on the hills of Galilee doing this with the masses, and that's what they are all astonished about. He's bringing them the rites of resurrection.
He's, by the way, what else is happening right there? They want to make him a king.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
Yep.
He runs.
And Peter says we have a royal priesthood.
And he runs from that because it's the time of year. But anyway,
sorry, I was just in ritual embrace here.
Oh yeah, I don't want to get to that yet.
Okay,
I want to go to the.
We have about Abraham. You have to leave in about 30 minutes.
Okay, I want to go to the Abrahamic covenant.
How deep are we into this, Brando? Hour 43. Hey, if you're sticking around, hey, let's just real quick pause it, get something to drink, stretch, because from what I know, we have some really cool things to end on here.
The best is still ahead.
The best is still ahead.
All right, so if we go to the Abrahamic covenant, this is where we get something that is throughout Egypt everywhere, and this is a very central part of the Egyptian religion. And if we can zoom in on this a little bit, I want to focus on the first row here. Now, if you look from the left side to the right, you get essentially...
the other one's a little bit better. Do you want me to go to the other one? It's a little
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay, cool.
I'll go to that one in a minute.
All right.
Okay. So what we get here is basically Mer, as you were talking about. This is Mer, which is basically my beloved, is how I would say that. That's what Bruce Porter calls it, my beloved. D, Mer D, I give you or I endow you right? We're going to skip the T here because this is probably for Hatshepsut. This is at the Temple of Hatshepsut, so a lot of this is going to be feminized. And then you have Ankh, or eternal life.
That's this one.
Jed. Now this is really interesting because they're going to look at this as you kind of look at this like the backbone of Osiris, right?
Spinal column.
But it's for endurance and preservation. But I think we should be looking at this more along the lines of posterity. That's how a king, a pharaoh, is going to have longevity and prosperity and success, is going to be through his seed. It's going to be through building that out. So I'm going to say that this is posterity. And then you move beyond that, and you have the Wa scepter, that is priesthood.
Like an antelope head.
It's actually jackal.
And like a forked bottom.
Yeah, and then you have the Seneb there, SNB. You got Seneb, which is well-being and goodness, and then you have it's raw, meat raw, but it's going to be backwards. So it's meat raw, which would be like God, and then jet or jeta here. So that's going to be basically, my beloved, I endow you with eternal life, posterity, priesthood, well-being, to become like God for eternity. And you see a variation of this throughout everything in Egypt, everywhere.
Interesting.
And it's even in the pillars at Karnak right before you walk into the Holy of Holies.
Yeah.
As you get there. If you go to the other one,
Yeah.
because I think this is kind of interesting.
Sounds a little familiar.
It sounds a little familiar, yes. Okay, so this is something that is obviously very familiar to those that are endowed. It's an example of what we get at the veil, and it has to do with a physical body, your well-being, your health, priesthood, posterity, and eternal life. Now, go to the first ritual embrace on this.
Okay.
This is part of all of the... we're going to have to go back to the washing and anointing because I forgot about that. But this is also in the tomb of Seti II. You see the snakes in the background there.
Yeah.
Another one. This is getting to the veil, and the whole thing is a procession to get yourself to the veil to be one with God. Right? That's at-one-ment or atonement, to be one with God.
Yeah.
Go to the next one.
You can see the blessings being spelled out of this, or the similar set down the bottom right side.
Oh.
Yes, which is a similar, that's exactly right. You've got the jet, the
on the
wash.
Left, you've got the Uraeus headdress, and he's holding life in his hand. Is that Ma'at, maybe?
That might be Ma'at.
Who's Ma'at?
Or,
Ma'at is truth or shalom, maybe.
Order, justice.
Yeah.
It's what you get weighed with, your heart,
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
die. You're judged against this.
Okay.
Okay, so here we have Horus or Ra-Horakti. And here, okay, so it is the
Similar,
pharaoh that's
yeah.
holding the Ankh.
Yeah.
Because that's Ha-Horakti, I think, Ra-Horakti. And you've got the same thing. You see the hand, his hand on the far shoulder.
Yeah.
You see that over there?
Yeah.
And this hand is on his shoulder, on the God's shoulder. The feet are together. Very similar. Sometimes what you'll get is you'll actually get the God speaking to the Pharaoh. And, you know, we had Abraham with his hand out in front of him, and
Yeah.
like he's speaking, and the hand will be behind the Pharaoh's head.
Yeah.
So he's speaking to the Pharaoh toward his hand.
Okay.
As they reconcile here at what we would call the veil here. A couple other quick examples.
So that's
here.
Ritual Embrace 3. Here's Ritual Embrace 4. Similar. Doesn't have the writing. And the writing on
holding
this
that
one is
thing
above the
in
head,
his
maybe.
hand that represents
Ankh,
eternal life. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the
Okay.
key.
Now,
Key to eternal life.
last thing I'd say is go to the washing and anointing.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not sure where this one is. I can't remember. I think this is at Edfu, but
They're pouring onks over.
yeah, and you can see which is really interesting because you think about Jesus at the well, the woman with the well, and what he says about himself, the living water, right?
Yeah.
And here you have eternal life is the water. Something again, this is very ancient in this idea and this concept.
Wow, it's just a bunch of chains of unks.
Yeah,
So, yeah, conceptually with Egyptian writing is there's not always meant to be a distinction between what we would think of as the writing and what we would think of as
drawing.
the illustration.
Yeah.
Like the drawings can be read as words. The words are also pictures.
Part of the drawing.
And
Yeah.
even to get into like the idea of Greg said a couple times here, the Egyptians weren't mythological, or you might say they're not superstitious. They're deeply religious. The immediate, some of the Greek reaction when they got into the into Egypt was these people are superstitious. They worship animals. That doesn't.
Because they didn't understand.
No.
Yeah.
In fact, some Egyptologists have said, first of all, sometimes it's hard that the gods and goddesses sometimes trade heads and trade images. So it's sometimes hard to know who is who until you see it spelled out in writing. And Egyptologists will say sometimes it seems like the images of the gods are really hieroglyphs.
Yeah.
Meaning it's not that they thought there is somewhere a magical hippopotamus who was angry would kill them, but the hippopotamus meant like an aspect of divinity.
It's an attribute of God.
Exactly.
It's an attribute of God. And in fact, you cannot find anywhere with any of the gods the Egyptians calling them God.
Yeah.
There's nowhere do they call any of those individuals God.
Do they call something God? They call.
Well, there's an old God, and it's great that this is a Book of Mormon name, Amun, which is the hidden one, and over time, Amun comes to be attached to
Amun-Ra.
the others.
Yeah.
And there is like this sort of interesting question: to what extent were Egyptians really monotheist, but then not in a way that we recognize? So all of these are sort of aspects of God, energies of God. God doing a certain kind of action takes on a certain kind of face, but it's really just God.
It's all God.
Yeah, and interestingly, I mean, the only time you ever see a god, an Egyptian god, as man, it's Ptah, who is the kind of like the original creator god. He's a man.
Yeah.
And
He wears a little cap like a sculptor.
or a swimmer.
Yeah, it looks like a swimmer. That's exactly right.
So that's it looks more like they are substituting things in as attributes of God.
Yeah.
Of attributes of what they would consider God to be.
That's interesting, though. This one. Let's go to the Temple Karnak one.
Yeah, and then we're going to need to zoom in quite a bit on this
Yeah.
one. This one is on the side of the Holy of Holies at the Temple of Karnak. Okay. And it's pretty tough to see here, I guess. But up at the top left there, you have the Pharaoh who is getting washed here. The next one is he's getting crowned, where it would be the anointing would be happening there. He's being prepared there in the next one.
And he's sitting on the
and then he's going to be presented to God here at the end. And where he, toward the veil, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it's just a procession, so to speak, of a washing and anointing going through there. And this stuff, it's not like, oh, we happen to find this here or happen to find it there. It is everywhere.
Yeah.
Even the lion couch scenes, they're a lot more rare than some of this other stuff. But they're to be found everywhere. In that temple in Dendera where we saw, the whole myth of Osiris, there's another Osirian chapel in there that does the same thing. It's just a variation of the myth. And then downstairs, it's got other examples, snapshots of it. I think at Edfu they've got it also, and maybe even at Philae. It is what we have in the Book of Abraham and what we have in the temple can be found everywhere. You can find they're using censers all the time, like they do in the Jewish temples and the Israelite.
What are
temples,
censers?
It's a hand and a staff and a hand with a hand at the end of it that is filled typically with like frankincense.
Okay.
Right. So that it would be the priests are holding it out. Right. And that's what it actually means in Hebrew. I'm trying to remember what the word is, but to be ordained means to fill the hand.
Yeah.
It means to fill the hand.
It's, maybe from hiring a Levite. To hire a Levite, you fill his hand with incense.
Yes. Yeah. And so it's you have that all over the place with the hand and cupping shape is everywhere. You have we had one also with Anubis who had his arm to the square. You see the square and the compass.
Yeah.
It's
everywhere.
The temple is everywhere in Egypt.
Dang. Holy cow! Well, I gotta take a nap. That was amazing. This is.
I
really
gotta go
cool.
to Egypt.
I gotta go to Egypt.
Maybe exhausted from the exertion and the thrill.
Yeah, we might. Yes, the exertion and thrill. This is crazy. There's just so much. Yeah, maybe we need Maybe we need to save some money and go to Egypt with you.
If only you knew a travel agency.
If only we knew a travel agency that would take us there. So, Greg, thank you so much. All you guys probably already know where you can find Greg at Quick Media, CWIC media.com, and on YouTube, as well as Go and Do Travel, where Greg is going to be leading more Egyptian tours this upcoming year. So, wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
And until next time, wait, first off, get off YouTube. If you need to take a nap too, I understand. Read the scriptures, go to the temple, and until next time, stay curious and hungry.